Hello everyone, this is HuskyStarcraft here, back with some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm action. This time it is going to be between Paddle down in the bottom right side, but he is going to be going up against the world famous, in the top left side, Red Protoss Whitera. I feel like my channel hasn't had enough special tactics lately. I was able to harass Whitera enough to send me a replay. He did say that for some reason the beta has been lagging for him, although they did just release a patch today, or was it yesterday? Either way, they just released a patch. This game is not played on the new patch. As you can see right here, the old Mothership Core is still available in this game with 50 minerals, 50 gas. I will try and get new replays from the newest patch as soon as I can. But of course, with 1 to 2 patches coming out a week, it's kind of difficult to stay up to date every single time, especially with so few people actually playing the beta. But you know what? A lot of you were requesting Whitera, so I decided, hey, I might as well cast some Whitera. I do enjoy watching him play. He is playing a lot of games on the beta recently, although I do know the last week or so he has been traveling, I think it was for WCS as well as a couple other events, so he hasn't been at home as much. But I do know that he wants to be very good at the beta, and that's why he's been playing it quite a bit. These bones actually look pretty freaking sweet, but regardless, we do have the big wall in right here, going to be going down for Whitera, and it does say Paddle apparently pretty nervous here to be going up against none other than Whitera, as we do have his spawning pool going to be going down. I would assume he's going to have an expansion as well, although Whitera is here to block it. And that does mean Zerglings and the Queen may be coming out here relatively soon. And Whitera is going to throw down a Forge or the Nexus first. Looks like, yep, it's going to be the Nexus first here because he sees the timing of the expansion, knows that everything is going to be A-okay. And it looks like Whitera might actually be matter enough to let him get the expansion up and running. Whitera was indeed typing, and we'll just pretend he was Canadian and was like, sorry for blocking your expansion. I'm going to go ahead and let you have that, as we do have the Overlord right here for Paddle. Where's it going to go? It's basically spotting nothing at this point, although he could, yep, float to the right side just a little bit, because remember that a constructing building, I should say, is that it doesn't have very good vision, so you have to make sure that your opponent doesn't cannon rush you or anything like that. It does look like the drone was able to scout out quite a bit, get a glimpse of exactly when the Forge is going to be going down, the Gateway going to be following it up, and then the cannon right after that. The cannon at this point, honestly, is just a precaution, because you can get Mothership Cores out so early, and he knows that his opponent is going for an expansion at the pretty standard times here. Do Zerglings run a little bit differently, or is that just... Am I tripping, or do they run a little bit differently? I feel like sometimes they jump a little higher. I might just be tripping here. Maybe indeed I am tripping. But Blizzard has announced that they are going to be releasing a new physics engine. And not so much an engine, but a lot of changes to the current physics. So there's going to be a lot of cool stuff. I can't wait to see more of that. But as far as I know, it should actually make the game a lot more enjoyable to watch. From what I've read, I don't know too much about it, as it hasn't been revealed or anything like that. But they are trying to make the game more enjoyable to watch, more realistic to watch, and just try and keep it up to date. I do like this, though. I feel like these Zerglings are running slightly differently, and I don't know if I'm just tripping. I'm probably tripping, but either way, we do have some pretty heavy scouting here for Paddle, as he is scouting around everywhere, looking for any sorts of pylons, any sorts of Zerglings. Might be able to grab this watchtower as well by killing off this Ling here. But he does have full-on map control, which is why he feels safe enough to go ahead and grab a third expansion here right around the 5-minute mark. That's going to be going ahead and finishing up there, and still no gas at all for him. It can be a tempting time for a Zerg just to make a lot of drones, not make the gas, because the more drones you make, that means, well, you have more drones on the back of it. So the greedier you can play on when you get your gas, the better off you're going to be here. But you do have to watch out for things like some sort of early air rush out of Whitera, as we do have weapons air level 1 on the way. Does he even have a Stargate yet? No, he doesn't. He's most likely, I would assume, going to drop one right here. But fun fact, you can get air attack upgrades and armor upgrades before you have a Stargate. So that's definitely a thing, as he does have that on the way right now. Is it going to be carriers? Phoenix? Tempest? I don't know, but he is definitely doing some sort of special tactics in this game, and the Zergling's going to be scouting out. They do manage to grab both towers here, push back that probe. The Overlord's going to be scouting here. He really wants to see something. He wants to go, it's a Stargate. As I don't know if he is going to be able to see it. Yes, he does. Zergling runs up there. I don't know if he was able to click on it in time, though. He may not realize that it is a Stargate. He should potentially send the Overlord down. There's not going to be any anti-air, I believe, at all on the field. No, there's not. So Whitera's just basically going to reveal the fact that he's going some sort of Stargate rush. These Queens are going to be throwing darts for a very long time to try and bust down these destructible rocks. Every single Zergling, honestly, should be on rock destruction duty. And indeed they will be, as the Zerglings do go ahead and work that down as we do. Oh, it is going to be Phoenix for now. He does have one Phoenix on the way, and it does look like the +1 attack going to be nearly done. The Overlord, though, is going to spot this. Also sees that there is a Phoenix on the way here. As long as he's keeping an eye on this Overlord, he will see exactly what's going on and not be taken too surprised by this. Taken by surprise, rather, but I don't know. He needs to make sure to throw down an Evo Chamber or do something to deal with the potential air. Now, he does have 2 Queens on the way. The main problem is that it's got to be difficult to connect all these bases with creep. Down goes the Evo Chamber right there. But he needs to make sure that he's able to connect these bases with creep if he plans to defend with queens. Otherwise, he is going to have to rely on spore crawlers. I don't know if he's going to be able to get hydras up in time, or even if he should go for hydras at this stage of the game, because you're not going to be able to get that speed hydra upgrade that, well, we don't see it used all that much, but it does make the hydras more viable in ZVP, as the rock's going to be slowly worked down here. I think they will be done in time, but the Phoenix are going to be moving out, looking for individual Overlords to snipe. Unfortunately for him, Paddle has only sent 1 Overlord on the left side of the map, which could easily be spotted here by the Phoenix, but this Phoenix right here is going the incorrect way. This is always kind of the worst feeling as Protoss, is sitting at your first Phoenix. Oh, we do have carriers on the way. 1 carrier on the way, and potentially a second one here, as we have some sort of carrier rush here at a Whitera. Special tactics indeed. While I know carriers aren't Heart of the Swarm units, they kind of feel like it, because that is a unit that you don't normally see very often, especially in good old Wings of Liberty. Now, we do have 1 Spore Crawler done, and do we have an overreaction of Spore Crawlers? Currently, the answer is no. Just 1 Spore Crawler at the natural and at the 3rd base here, which honestly, if this was any other build by Whitera, I would say this is almost an underreaction. But this Overlord is going to attempt to spot something useful, but that's not going to be. No way this Overlord's going to survive. And the carrier, I highly doubt, would show himself just to kill that off. No, he will not. As we have the Stalker right here, he's having some target practice on those rocks, but overall, a pretty passive game from both players, as Paddle going to be going a super macro mode. He did get supply blocked here, though. Unfortunately, didn't realize he need to preemptively make some of those Overlords right now. But it does look like Whitera, he's got his first carrier. He's got 2 more carriers on the way. Whitera himself is not quite supply blocked. Will be able to take a 3rd base here safely, I would say, as Zealot is going to go ahead and scout up here. Spot that there is a Zergling. I think he can at least see it. Yes, he can. So that poor Zergling is going to get taken out. No +1 is done because, well, he needs all that money for carriers. Carrier has arrived. And thankfully, Carrier is here to stay in Heart of the Swarm, as Blizzard did decide, of course, to go ahead and add it back. But still unable to spot. I believe these carriers count as being on high ground, because right here and here is where their little bump bubble is. Which, oh no, it is going to reveal it. If that Zergling saw that, then right now Paddle's going to know what's happening here, as he should have saw those interceptors if he was paying close attention. If not, he is going to be in a lot of trouble, because 3 carriers, mighty difficult to deal with without a lot of anti-air. We will need to see something like Hydralisks or something like Corruptors. Corruptors tend to be the best choice. Those things definitely have spotted it now, and it looks like Whitera wants to reveal his hand, and his hand is 6 aces. How he managed to do that is beyond me, but this is the 6 ace hand in poker, one of the best hands that there ever will be. And we will see if Paddle is going to be able to deal with this. He does have a Spire nearly completed here, but without a lot of anti-air, without a lot of spores, it's going to be tough to delay this push long enough. The +2 air attack is already done, as he does have +3. I'm sure Chrono boosted out, was able to get that +2 attack so early. And here's the carriers right now. The Queen's got to try and deal with the Interceptors, but remember, Interceptors have so much HP, especially just versus Queens. It does look like, though, the Fungal got to be used here to take these down, and that's an interesting choice. Unfortunately, the Queen's not targeting them because you can't click on Interceptors, but a crazy choice here by Paddle to actually try and fungal these. So far, it's doing quite a bit. You can see the Interceptor count severely reduced. This carrier doesn't even have any Interceptors, as the Queen's eventually going to get taken out here. No more Spore Crawlers are done. We do have 9 Corruptors on the way. Does Whitera continue with the carriers, or does he decide to transition into more of a gateway-centric army? We're about to find out, as Zerglings and Roaches are going to be delaying the push of additional carriers as long as they possibly can. And it does look like those units going to get taken out extremely quickly. The Zerglings, though, will be able to kill off a couple of probes. Nope, just kidding. They're able to escape there. But for now, the 3 carriers going to be very susceptible to the Corruptors. And actually, he doesn't have auto build on. So this one carrier right here is not building anything. The other carriers do have auto build. But there we go. The Corruptors are now out. There's no attack. And the mass recall. Away they go. Never have I seen carriers mass recalled at the 13-minute mark. And the mothership says, hey, guys. What's the haps? How's it going? And the carriers are like, you know, carrier has arrived and all that. Zerglings are going to try to run by here, as Whitera did apparently not make a tight wall in here. Those Zerglings somehow able to make it by, but it looks like the cannon will buy enough time here. Might not even kill off this cannon. And he would love to get that cannon down so he can run up inside the main base. No, 2 HP on the cannon. Cannon's like, this ain't no big deal, man. We got carriers. We got Whitera carriers, brah. We do have a couple Mutalisks going to be mixed in, and Tempest on the way, so he is going tier 3 all day, every day. As Whitera, you know, we got to have special tactics here, as we do have a lot of hatcheries now done for Paddle. Looks like he's up to 7 here, and a lot of Larvas bankrolled. And once he makes a bunch of Overlords, he is going to be in a pretty good spot. He does have the 4 Overlords on the way down. That does look like Corruptor's going to try and run up here, decides not to go for the actual kills there. Purify being used on the Mothership Core. I just feel like Purify, that is when you have you've done goofed, as you have pissed off the Mothership Core. Right there, the spinning blades of death, not able to kill anything though, because it does move so slowly. It does have quite a long range, but you know, the Corruptor is obviously going to be able to outrun that Mothership Core. But for now, it does look like Paddle going to try and figure out, how do I spend all this money? He does have 12 drones on the way. He needs to make sure to get his gas saturation on every single base, and that's why he's running a little low on gas. This one needs to have those 3 drones in there, and these ones looking pretty good. So his income is looking stellar, and he does have additional bases on Whitera, but he just needs to make sure to be macroing correctly, getting that gas saturation going, and making sure that he's making those high-tier units, because Whitera right now is going for lots of high-tier units. I don't even think he has Warp Gate research. No, he does not, as he has worked on the +3 attack, the +1 armor, and the +1 shields are on the way. These are all going to be benefiting Whitera and his carriers, and so that's why he doesn't even need Warp Gate right now. He could throw down another Cybernetics Core, which he actually is. He does have a second Cybernetics Core on the way to assist with those upgrades and assist with that Warp Gate research. But I think Corruptors are going to kind of be the answer here. We will need to see +1 attack and +1 armor, which is why we see a second Spire going to be going down here. Paddle, though, is saving up a lot of his larvae, saving up a lot of his money to be able to basically make the counter to what he wants. Basically, he's going to look at it and be like, okay, are we still going for Mass Carrier? Are we still going for Tempest here? How exactly is this going to play out? But, you know, this is why, honestly, one of the reasons I love playing Protoss is because they have the best tier 3 units in the game. That doesn't mean that they're very good in the earlier mid games, but man, in the late game, do you get to have a lot of fun. As I don't know what his army spending is here, but you can see 6,000 resources, 3,600 gas, and very much less for our Zerg player Paddle. Army supply 102 to 73. We do have 104 drones, so I think it's time for Paddle. Oh, no, we don't. 91 drones right now, but he does throw down 10 Spore Crawlers. That's going to explain it. 10 Spore Crawlers are on the way, realizing that there is only air units as a threat. There is going to be a minor drop up here. I don't think it's going to be doing all that much damage, although he really should try and pressure the front of the base while dropping that natural. But for now, it does look like he's just going to go for that drop. The Infestors are now out. We do have 1 Swarm Host. He wants to use some HotS units, but unfortunately, Swarm Hosts do not attack air. And this is basically going to be a freebie drop for Paddle. He can get away with this. There's the Tempest right there revealing themselves. The carriers going to be able to clean this up in basically seconds. The Overlords are like, all right, it's time to go. All right, we get the memo. Oh, the Overlords are getting taken out as they are full of units. You can see how the Overlords are breaking apart. You know, just some of that new physics at work. I don't think they've introduced all of the new physics just yet, but they do get taken out, are going to be forced back to the main base, and the upgrades now have begun rolling. We have +2 carapace, we have +1 flyer, +1 armor on the way here, so Paddle should be in pretty good shape. His Infestor count's looking pretty good, does not have Neural Parasite, so will most likely be relying on the fungals of those Interceptors to end up winning him the game. But as soon as Whitera moves out, we could see just a ridiculous amount of Corruptors being produced here. We do see some more Overlords just as kind of filler right now, as he does have a lot of minerals. Could throw down some more hatcheries as well, but definitely needs to get these gas rolling. This is kind of the main thing, where it's like, yes, he is basically maxed out, but he has 3 gas geysers that he is not mining from, and that's going to play a huge role here. He is trying to do counterattacks here, but Whitera, he's playing Turtle Power, man, as he has cannons going down at that 4th base quite heavily. The Corruptors can't do a whole lot, so really right now what our Zerg player is waiting for is for Whitera to move out, so that he can deal with the army in the center of the map. Otherwise, the cannons are just going to chew apart those Corruptors. Plus, of course, the Interceptors themselves are now fully upgraded as far as the damage being dealt. +2 armor nearly done. Gateway's finally on the way. Don't know if he has Warp Gate just yet, but we are about to find out, As, yeah, he does have warp gate research, so he can now throw down a lot of gateways to reinforce his carriers immediately, which is, again, another reason that playing Protoss is very, very fun, because you can go your Mass 3 Tier 3 units, and if he just lets you sit back and do it, then you can follow it up with a lot of warp-ins and still have a maxed out army while you are losing those carriers. So definitely something that I wouldn't be surprised if we see happen. 16 Spore Crawlers on the way, a Greater Spire on the way now to begin those upgrades, 17 Corruptors on the way. We're going to see, can Corruptors deal with the Tempest? Here comes the slow marching army, 188 speed and 188 speed. They do move at the exact same speed, so that's going to keep them together. And we should see, I would assume, Fungals being used on the Interceptors, which would be a great choice if he can pull it off. But here come the Corruptors right now, and take a look at the health bars. You can see that some of the carriers going to go down mighty quickly, and the Fungals do go down as well, turning off the health bars. There's so much going on. It does look like Corruptors are the answer. There's the mass recall, as some of the carriers do indeed get taken out. Whitera trying to use special tactics, not having the best luck with it. Looks like one Tempest does get taken out, and this pylon will be spotted here as a ridiculous warp into Stalkers. This is what I'm talking about, is you can follow this up with just pure gateway units, and with the amount of gateways I'm sure he has located around his main base. Yep, this is how you got to do it, man. I wish more Protoss would play this way, where you throw down a lot of gateways, and then right after the attack, you're going to be maxed out again. Even after losing all that, he is maxed out, although our Zerg player has lost far more so far in this game, although we could get some big Fungals on the Stalkers. Decides not to engage just yet. Those Zerglings do now go for it. What are the upgrades on these units? 1, 2, and does he mass recall away? Yes, he does, but not before taking some pretty heavy losses on his Stalker count. And we really basically have to keep an eye on the economy of our Zerg player. He finally put some drones in these geysers up here, so he's going to have that additional gas income that all Zergs love and need, which means as long as he keeps his inject larvas going, which he's actually doing a pretty good job of doing, then he should be able to maintain this constant production, should be able to keep up with the attacks of Whitera. Now he's starting to mix in more Tempests, more carriers, more Stalkers. 4 carriers at a time. Pretty typical Whitera, man, going for max tier 3 units at the early stage of the game, as normally this is when we'd be transitioning into like mid-late game, as he does have, you know, all the upgrades rolling. Here comes a drop inside the main base, but guess what? It is a plethora of cannons ready and waiting. He needs to begin unloading the Zerglings, and he does. The Overlords will survive for now. I don't know if the Zerglings are going to be able to clean this out or not, but more upgrades are on the Lings to try and help them out. I do think that this is enough Lings, though, or enough cannons, excuse me, to clean up the Lings, as the cannons maintaining their lives. I don't think any of those cannons got taken out. No, they didn't, showing you how good cannons can be. There's a big fungal right there on these Stalkers, though. They are all going to get taken out. No blink is going to be saving you today. Whitera having a difficult time actually ending this game, because tier 3 units are just not where it's at versus Zerglings, that's for sure. As you can see, the Infested Terrans are absorbing a lot of those shots. You have to focus fire with these Tempests, otherwise they get taken out almost immediately. And there goes the Fungal. Yet another mass recall, as he somehow has enough energy to do so. Is going to have to sacrifice this expansion, but honestly, in the grand scheme of things, this is not that big of a loss for Whitera, but it will be evening out the units lost here by quite a bit, as Zergling's going to be, you know, taking out the Nexus, taking out the Pylons, and a couple of probes here. Broodlords are mixed in, but you don't want to go too crazy with the Broodlords, because there's always the threat of those Tempests, always the threat of a lot of carriers. Here's a big Zealot attack. Only 4 Spinecrawlers here to defend. Nope, a 5th one up at the north, but this will buy the Zerg a little bit enough time I think to fall back and hold this off. He has Zerglings sprinting up there, going to be able to clean this up. Unfortunately, Spore Crawlers are not the best versus Zealots, surprisingly enough, as the Zealots do clean out all the Spinecrawlers, but the Lings should be able to hold their own now that they are at 2-2. The 3-3 is on the way, as well as Adrenal Glands, and the upgrades for air units looking pretty good as well. Oh god, these Broodlords. This is an awkward position to be in versus all these Tempests. They may be able to fire a couple of times on these cannons, but other than that, they are not going to be doing a whole lot, as now the armies are kind of spread out here. The Corruptor's got to be doing a lot of damage to these Colossus. The Stalkers, though, eventually going to clean up what looks like all the Corruptors, but the Infested Terrans could be enough, and the Fungals go down. Where are the Infested Terrans at? As they need to pop out of the eggs, and they do. It looks like the majority of the Tempests will get taken out. Whitera has been pushed back, and it does look like so far the units lost is relatively even, showing you how difficult it is to use these tier 3 units versus a tier 3 Zerg army. You got the Zerglings. There's that individual swarm host we've seen just kind of marching around the entire time. Maybe eventually going to be using some of... There we go. He finally gets to burrow and do his thing. But right now it is going to be very, very tough for Whitera to do any substantial damage. That's why he's sending in another wave of Zealots over here to try and deal with this expansion. It looks like he will get it. If our Zerg player crumbles here, he will quickly lose his economic edge, as now he is Actually, he might already have lost his economic edge. He does have a little bit of mining going on down here, but these drones just got there. Some Corruptors, some Broodlords still on the field, but Tempests have so much HP and so much damage output if they're not being attacked. That's why they're able to kill off these Infestors. Yes, the Tempest doesn't do a lot of damage up front, but when you have this many blasting away at you endlessly, it can kind of force an engagement that you don't want to take, and a lot of damage was dealt to the expansion up here. It is still alive, though, bleeding profusely all over the place, but the Zerglings going to be able to take out a couple more units right here, but it does look like the game has stabilized just a little bit. The players trying to get back on their feet. It is going to be tough, though, for Paddle to make enough anti-air to deal with these Tempests. I mean, right now you can see units marching everywhere. It does look like the Swarm Host has quite a few kills, as he is going to be just intercepting these probes one after the other. God, these Locusts are so freaking good, man. Killing these off all day, but it does look like the expansion here is going to get taken out unless enough Lings get down here. They finally have +3 armor. The +3 attack on the way. Adrenal Glands is now completed here, as Whitera definitely giving us an interesting game, but still making Paddle work for this win, as the Swarm Host is up to 7 kills. The Locusts, not quite sure where they're going, but more are surely going to be following it up here in just a moment. Where are these Locusts at? Either way, he's able to intercept a lot of probes there. We do have the Zealots finally cleaning out the expansion up here. Broodlings going to town on those, but he decides to march on down. We'll take out a couple of Spore Crawlers here, and the Spore Crawlers are like, yep, it's time to skedaddle. That's probably the best way to describe how a Spore Crawler actually marches around. But does look at the expansion once again will get taken out here, thus evening the score by quite a bit. You can see almost identical here on the units lost right now, as Whitera is able to take that out, and the Spore Crawlers just taking it like the men they are, as it does look like the Zealots, though, having one fun time killing off these expansions. This is going to be 2 expansion deaths. These Zealots, they're the true warriors of ire, going to be 2v3ing Larva, and as you can see, the Larva having a pretty close battle here, as they just do not die because they have like 1 million armor. One Broodlord here trying to save the expansion, and is it going to happen? It looks like, yes, it will be saved for now. But, you know, at this point, Paddle needs to make sure he continues to mine, continues to expand, because he does not have that big of a bankroll. Whiterod does have some, but he's going to have a lot more here in just a moment, as he has expanded up in the north side, getting his 5th base, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, his 5th base right now. Tempest versus Overlords, that's pretty one-sided. I believe that these are fully upgraded, though. 3, 3, 3. All the way across the board. The Mothership is now done, so that means that those Interceptors are going to be even more of a pain to deal with. The big Warpins of Zealots going to be preventing these expansions from getting taken out time and time again. Oh god, this probe, I do not envy you, probe. Oh, here comes a bunch of Archons. Where's the Fungals or the Neural Parasites? As it does look like the Broodlords, though, will be able to deal with this until the air arrives. This probe, you had a mission impossible. Build a Nexus under a bunch of Broodlords. Not a good idea there, as he does get taken out. Whitera realizing, okay, I'm not going to be expanding there anytime soon, so maybe I can kill off the expansion over on the right side. These Zealots should be able to clean house quite easily versus these Lings, as, yep, the Zealots with full upgrades. So, well, I guess 2 attack, 3 armor, or 3 shields. Actually, he never did get the armor upgrade there, but Zerglings still not the best unit versus Zealots, especially once they start getting a couple plus attack upgrades. Going to be able to slice through those Zerglings in 2 hits. Now, do we see anything like Roaches starting to be mixed in? Anything like Hydras? Hydras would actually be a pretty good choice right now, although it would be tough versus this amount of Archons. Whitera somehow getting a lot of Espene gas to make these Archons. So basically every single unit in his army is tier 3. He's got the Tempest, Mothership, Archon, and Carrier, which is a lot of tier 3 units. And that does make his unit composition nearly unstoppable, as it does look like Blue Theorem says hi, as it does look like right now the Tempest got to be killing out these Broodlords. He has just enough to actually be one-shotting these Broodlords here, and this is exactly what you would expect to see in Heart of the Swarm now. As the Tempests have been added in, it makes it very uncomfortable for Zerg to try and sit back, and you can see with a little bit of micro here on these Tempests, they can back away, although the Corruptors do manage to get up here. Does use the corruption ability. Looks like not quite yet. The Archons, though, they're mighty, mighty pissed. You got to watch out for that Vortex. Does take out a couple of those Tempests, though, and more are on the way, but both players still do have about the same supply. And that does mean, you know, this is still anybody's game, as Paddle is mining off of 1 base, kind of 2 bases here. He will have to be expanding here relatively soon, but I mean, the non-stop wave of Zealots, how do you deal with that? Because if your army ever gets out of position, they're just going to swing through and start taking out some of your expansions. Oh, these poor drones. These poor, poor drones. That's not where you want to be headed right now. If you're a drone, the Zealots say, hey, drones, it's cool. You can go ahead and go and mine up there. We're just going to go kill this expansion. as they do go ahead and run down here. They will be able to take out the hatchery almost immediately. The drones as well are surely going to fall, as it looks like Paddle, trying to figure out how do I engage these Tempests here, as Whitera saying, it's turtle power. Oh god, the Archon's got to be doing crazy splash as the Vortex does go down right. The mothership's last dying wish was Vortex, and was able to summon that. This is not going to be pretty. Keep an eye on the supply. 139, in go the Archons, and this is not a good spot to be in. Oh god, the Archon's going to be doing so much splash damage. Wasn't able to actually kill off all the Corruptors just yet though, but eventually they are able to finish it off, and it does look like Whitera will be able to win with this carrier rush, and there's the GG. Paddle obviously having some fun playing against Whitera, the man himself, and Whitera getting a taste of victory by just staying in the game a little bit longer to kill off everything. So Whitera, our Protoss hero, trying to make the carrier a viable unit. Even then, I feel like it wasn't that successful, but we will see in the future if Blizzard decides to make any changes to the carrier. I do want to say, though, that I feel like since Protoss has so many Tier 3 units, that there may need to be a reworking of how the Tempest or the carrier works, just because there's already so many Tier 3 units here. You can see Mothership, Carrier, Tempest, Archon was the unit composition there. That is a lot of Tier 3. But either way, hope you guys enjoy it. More HotS on the way soon. And, of course, I'll see you guys next time.